Well, good afternoon and welcome back to Cellar Dweller. We have a great conversation to have today because recently we tasted a wine that was from high elevation in Argentina. It's like 5,000 feet. So seems like it's very, very high elevation. And of course, it's not unusual for mostly normal wines in Argentina are 3,100 feet or 3,500 feet. So it's a high country, and 5,000 is pretty high altitude. But I wanted to talk today about the higher elevation wines in, for instance, Napa. In Napa, we have several mountain peaks that have some amazing wines growing on them. And, you know, when you think about it, in Napa, the elevation in the valley, like right around Mondavi in the main area, is about 700 feet, 750 feet elevation above sea level. But we have some wines that grow up in the slopes, like Mount Veeder, Atlas Peak, and of course Pride Mountain, that are much higher. In fact, we're going to taste a wine here in a second called Pride Mountain Cabernet Sauvignon, and it's grown at an elevation of 2,100 feet. Now, there's some that are slightly higher, but not many. That's up there on kind of a plateau on top of Spring Mountain. They do have some slopes. They also have some flat vineyards. But the thing about high elevation fruit is that it's not like in the valley. It doesn't have fast access to water and to soil conditions that are really helpful to vines. The vines at high elevations, they have to dig deep, looking for nutrients, looking for moisture. And so in that process of digging deep, they go through all these different levels of stones and rocks and calciums and you name it, which also comes back into the grape. The other thing about it is it's not a big access to water, which means the grapes on the berry size of the grapes on the clusters are much smaller because they just don't get plump from so much moisture. So they're smaller, but that also makes a more condensed grape and grape juice that comes out of it. So they're condensed and they're really strong and opulent and really bold. And so that's why I have an affinity for mountain grown fruit. And of course, there's some great valley grown that are amazing. And we'll talk about those another time. But let's talk about this particular wine called Pride Mountain Cabernet Sauvignon. This goes back about 20 years, 22 years to be exact. We're going to taste this 1998 Pride Mountain Cabernet Sauvignon. This is the regular bottling, not their reserve. So they have another level up reserves, which are quite amazing. But this is an amazing wine right here, and I'm really glad to have it with us today because it's going to really be something to talk about. So again, it's highly concentrated flavors because of the high altitude. And what they do is they're on the top of Spring Mountain, which is just to the west of St. Helena. In fact, from their landing pad where they crush their crush pad, you can actually see the ocean on a clear day. The Sonoma-Napa County line runs right through their property. So they have fruit grown in Sonoma, fruit grown in Napa. The Cabernet Sauvignon is one of their really claims to fame. I've been tasting their wines for years. It's been a favorite of mine going back, I don't know, well, this long for sure, if not longer. I was able to meet Jim Pride, the owner. He's a farmer, and that's what it takes to raise grapefruit, a farmer. So anyway, we're going to taste this. As you can see, well, you can't see, but it's been open for about an hour. This wine cellar smells like red wine, a great red wine. So we're going to start out by pouring some in the glass, take a peek at it, take a sniff at it, and then taste it. So here we go. You can see it's pretty dark, even though it's 22 years old. It should have a little bit of lighter color on the edge because of its age, but it's not showing a whole lot of it. So that's good. It means it's aged well, and it looks great in the glass, and it's dark. And it's garnet, and it's beautiful as it should be. There's some structure on the legs as it falls off the glass. So it's sticking to the glass, which is always a good thing. So swirl it around, get some flavor up on the edge of the glass, get some bouquet in the glass, and we'll smell it, give it a sniffy sniff, and see how it goes. So on this, I'm smelling a lot of different things. There's so much going on in this. I mean, it should be resolved, and I'm sure it is, but there's so much going on. I've got plum. I've got some country spices, some forest floor, black tea, some dried florals like dried roses or things like that. So there's a lot going on in this. It's going to be really fun to taste. So let's taste it and see what happens here in a second. Normally I have something to spit it out into, but this wine is so great, I never spit pride. Sorry. I'm not sorry. Anyway, okay, so this being a 22-year-old wine, it's not going to knock you off your chair like their current vintages do. Their current vintages are opulent and stunning. This is no less stunning, and this is an example of beautifully aged mountain Cabernet. This is resolved. The tannins are not that present any longer. They don't kill you with bitterness because the tannins are completely resolved, but you taste the beautiful fruit, the beautiful blueberry, the beautiful fruit compote going on in there, a little bit of forest. You can smell the forest. You can smell maybe some eucalyptus. You can taste the plum and blackberry. You can taste the minerality of it slightly, and you can taste the great contribution of the soil to this. I think it's a stunning wine. It's beautiful. It really shines as an example of a wine that started out stunning and it kept its aged through the 22 years we've aged it, and we have some more that probably goes further back. But I think it's time to consider consuming it. Although it's a beautiful wine, we're going to enjoy it here this evening as we drink the rest of it. I urge you to enjoy Mountaintop Fruit because it's condensed, it's really elegant, and it's stunning wines in Napa. And of course, they're a little pricier. That's the way it is. I mean, consider that Peter Michael's got this vineyard called Elevation 1147. That's the Elevation. 1147 is wine is famous, the Cabernet. But that's not near as high as this is. This is 2,000 feet. So think about it. Look for higher elevation wines, and we'll talk about some of those some more. And I think maybe on a future tasting, we'll talk about maybe some valley floor wines that are grown that are really amazing as well. And maybe even we'll talk about some wines that are more mainstream that you can find easily, and we can talk about those too. So remember to shoot me a note, request a wine that you would like me to taste and give my comments on, and we'll be happy to do just that because no wine is a bad wine. Cheers!